Hello everyone, I am Joe, the founder of SignTracker. I am so glad to spend a few minutes with you today. As most of you already know, I'm also the moderator at Behind the Signs community, and so I spend a lot of time there if you ever want to reach out to me. I've also been in the sign industry for over 30 years and have had the privilege of owning several sign shops and working at a few. But one in particular was SignTech International, which with my business partner, we grew from just the two of us to 60 employees. And we did projects from local little sandwich shops and nail salons all the way up to pylon signs and the Dallas Cowboy Stadium. And we also did national rollouts as well. And as the business grew, I kind of discovered that I had four basic problems. And the more I talk to sign shops, it's kind of universal. So you're not alone with these. One, how do I keep jobs from falling through the cracks? So someone calls in, does it end up on a Post-it note? Does it end up in your voicemail? Does it end up in an email? And where do I put it so that it doesn't get lost in the shuffle? Number two is, where do I put the components of the job? So whether it's customer logos or site survey notes and photos, production files, all the stuff that goes inside of the job. Is there a central place where I can keep this so it doesn't get lost? Number three, how do I ensure that I'm quoting not only accurately, but profitably? That was a big one. And number four, how do I communicate to the team? And the team could just be you and another person, but how do you figure out every day what everyone has to do on the jobs? So those were the four problems that I set out to solve over the years as I grew my business, and constantly learned, sadly from mistakes, but how to continuously adjust the system so that it accomplished those four things. And from that was born SignTracker. So I'm going to spend a few minutes walking you through SignTracker to show you how it can solve those four problems for you, and invite you to go ahead and try it free. Just go to sign-tracker.com, click the try it free button. You can try it free for 2 weeks. So there's no real risk for seeing if SignTracker can help you solve those problems. Anyway, thanks again for spending a few minutes with me. Now let's take a look at the app. All right, now we are in the app. So let's this is a bird's eye view of SignTracker. So if you want a deeper dive, please go to some of our resources. And since we're here, let's talk about them. This is the dashboard of SignTracker. So I am assuming if you got this far, you have already gone to sign-tracker.com. You hit the try it free button and you are in some phase of your 14-day trial. So if that is the case, welcome to SignTracker. I know it's going to make a huge difference in how your shop operates. Before we get started on solving our four problems, let's just give an overview of what's in SignTracker. First, you have the dashboard. On the dashboard, you can see a snapshot of all your jobs, where they might be getting stuck. If you have any events on a calendar other than a job, they're going to show up here, and then any job that you're associated with is going to show up here. My list is really huge because this is my demo account, so I'm actually associated with every single job in the app. But what's really important over here is the resources. So there is a help center in SignTracker, tons of documentation, there's training videos, there's quick start guides. There's full-length recorded webinars. So what I am going over today, there is a much deeper dive if you look at some of those. We have a SignTracker Facebook group, so things like updates and also our podcasts and recordings like this are all posted there. And then, of course, there's the Behind the Signs Facebook community. So I can't say enough about that. It is fantastic. If you ever have any questions about the industry or things you might be struggling with or wanting to buy a new piece of equipment, just ask questions there, and it's just amazing the feedback you'll get. And if you want to spend a little bit more time hanging out with me, you can come to one of my weekly webinars. And so I do them twice a week, usually on Wednesdays at 1:30, which is an overview of the whole app. So everything from basic setup to how to manage a project. And then on Thursdays, I do a much deeper dive into the quoting. I do touch on that a little bit on the Wednesday meetings, but on Thursday, I get into how to set up all your materials and labor costs and formula items and build the templates out. So hopefully you can join me. You can come to any or all. I always recommend too, if you hire a new employee, send them to one of my webinars. That way there, you don't have to start from scratch when it comes to when it comes to training them. So in any case, these are available to you. And this little support tab right here, Inktobo has an amazing support system for SignTracker. So you have a dedicated tech support person and you have a dedicated success person. So it's two different things. So if you have basic things like, oh, I need to change my password, or you get stuck on something like that, of course, tech support will get with you immediately. But more importantly, if you're thinking, oh, how do I really enter all my materials or build quoting templates or task templates, and you've watched the videos and you feel like you're just a little stuck, that's fine. We're here to help. Just hit the support tab and just describe what you need help with, and your success manager will get with you immediately. There is a calendar in SignTracker, so if you're a person that likes to look at all your jobs on a calendar view, and of course any job you have, if you drag it and drop it, it's going to update the due date all the way through the system. These are based on the due dates of the project, and if I click this, I can go straight to the project from here as well, and the same goes with tasks. So any tasks that are in the system that are assigned to you and have a due date on them, they will be on the calendar. There is a task list view, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But if you're a person that loves to see things on the calendar, then here you go. Now, contacts, if you're syncing with QuickBooks, all of your contacts are going to come over from QuickBooks. And it doesn't matter, SignTracker actually syncs really well with QuickBooks desktop version and online version. Although I will say that Intuit pretty soon will not be supporting the desktop version. So if you haven't thought about going to the online version, it might be a good time to think about doing that. SignTracker syncs well with both, so don't panic. Either direction works fine. One thing I do want to point out about the contacts, once they come over, really every new contact is going to be entered in SignTracker. What's great about that is you're not going to clog up your accounting system with leads or names that people you've never done business with. So in SignTracker, if for some reason a customer calls and you give them a quote, you capture all their information, they decide they're not going to go with you, you can archive the job. You'll have their information for future marketing efforts. But if you sell the job, then what SignTracker does is when the contract goes over to QuickBooks, it sets it up for you, the contact in QuickBooks, and then does the billing. But one thing I wanted to point out, what's nice about this, and it just depends, what types of customers you work with, but let's say you work with design firms, general contractors, or school districts, where there's one company that you send all the bills to, but yet there's several people you work with. What's nice about this is it helps to organize which job you did with which person. So you have all that historical data over here. It will show you all the active jobs that are currently in SignTracker, as well as all the archive jobs. And of course, they live there forever. So whether it's the production files and the notes and the quotes and the tasks and everything you ever did with that job lives in that archive section, which is great, because I know at my shop, at least my first shop anyway, we had a whole wall of banker boxes filled with folders, and it was a nightmare trying to find all the information on a job if you had to go back and look at that. So this is just a so much better way to do it. Okay, so, and then of course, if you click into any one of these contacts, you're going to see which jobs you did with just that person. But so now let's kind of talk about how SignTracker does solve those 4 problems. So a customer calls in, and rather than writing it on a Post-it note or something like that, you just immediately go here to the Jobs tab, and you're going to go New Job. Of course, you can start a new job from the dashboard. There's a few places, but now we're going to, just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to make this a banner job. We're going to say this is a 4x8 banner, and it really doesn't matter what types of signs you do, whether you do vehicle wraps or channel letters, monument signs, stickers, t-shirts, whatever, SignTracker can really help manage all of that workflow. Now we're going to go ahead and assign this to a customer. If they're a new customer, it'll add new company, but since we're going to go ahead and pick on the company I showed you in the contacts, it automatically populates all their information. Then I can choose, and then I want to tag it to a person at that company. So I'll add a client contact for the company, and we're going to go ahead and assign this to Mark, and we have all his information in there. If it's a product or a service job, most of the times it's going to be a product job, so it's something you're fabricating and giving to the client. But if you have service trucks and you do repair work, then you can assign it a service job, and it just shows up in a calendar a different color. If you're lucky enough to have a project manager or an admin assistant, go ahead and assign that job to the project manager. And then even if you're just a one-person shop, assign this to yourself, because when a customer approves it, you're going to get an email saying, hey, Joe signed off on his banner. If you know a due date at this point, great. A lot of times you don't. And then we're going to go ahead and if the job location is different than up here, then we're going to go ahead and, type that in here. So if it's a different shipping address or a different install address, we're going to go ahead and do that. And sorry for my slow typing. I think I failed that class in high school. Okay, submit. So now we've created an electronic job folder. So we've solved the problem of the job not ending up on a Post-it note or a scrap of paper or an email. It's not going to fall through the cracks. And here's where it lands. We're going to come back to this in a minute. The job lands on your job flow board. So in the first spot, in the first column, you're going to see it here. And then you can start moving it through. This is how this works. These are stages of production. But most importantly, now it's recorded somewhere. So maybe once a week or twice a week, you can go through your opportunities column and follow up with folks. But even if you don't get the job, from here you can archive it, but at least you've captured some basic information about that customer. If you've never used a job flow board before, how that works is each of these columns represents a stage of production. And so the job just simply moves through the different stages of production. And the goal ultimately is to get the job all the way down to the closeout stage. And for us, that meant that the job was completed, customer was happy, we sent out the final invoice, and then once that was collected, it went into archive. So, and the job flow board is very flexible. You can set it up any way you want. You can have as many columns as you want. You can name them whatever you want. You can organize them just by dragging and dropping any way you want. You can even have different views too. So let's say you're a person that works in the shop and you don't want to see all the other stuff. So I can just go production, and I can filter this out and it will only show me the columns that I select. So you can set default views for yourself. The job flow board is really helpful if you can put it up on a big screen in your shop, because then it lets everybody know what's coming down the pipeline. So it kind of creates a sense of urgency and kind of excitement too. You can see, wow, we're really busy. This is amazing. Or maybe we're not as busy as we need to be. So how can we go out and get more jobs? So it's really a good thing to share with the whole team. The other thing the job flow board is really good for is production meetings. And for us, we had a production meeting Monday after lunch, which gave us Monday morning to get the week set up and going. And then Thursday morning, we kind of did a review of everything that was open and what we were working on. So that gave us all of Thursday and Friday to close out the week. So if you're not having production meetings, I highly suggest that. Super helpful, and the job flow board is amazing for that. So now each of these squares represents a job. It's a job card, I like to call it. So when you click into it, now we're going to go to problem number 2, right? Like, where do all the moving parts live in a job? Where are all the components? So everything's in one place. You don't have to go to a separate drive or a separate to-do list or whatever. Everything's going to be managed here. So we have overview, which is this screen right here. We have an activity tracker. So anytime someone moves a job on the job flow board, assigns a due date, completes a task, attaches a file, does a quote, whatever, it's going to be time stamped here. So you can kind of see everything that's happening with a job. Of course, tasks, that's, problem number 4, right, that we're going to talk about, but is how to keep everyone on track and let everyone know what they need to do. We'll come back to that. Notes, pretty self-explanatory. You can timestamp a note and anybody can take a note. I use this a lot, especially if clients called me or emailed me. Emails, I would just copy and paste the whole email and just put a little subject in like color change approved and then have the whole email in there. It just saved me a lot. I used the heck out of this. Attachments, so all of your files, each file can be a gig. And we'll go ahead and attach a few just to take a look at how that works. But you can go ahead and attach your files, upload them. You can drag and drop them in here too. You can have as many files as you need on a job. So even if you go out to the field and do a survey, whether you have a tablet or a smartphone and you can navigate to, through your browser to this screen, you can just take all your photos, click the square box here and upload all your survey photos. Now, and again, all your production files, copies of permits. And when you archive this job, what's amazing is if I have to go back to it in 6 months, everything's here. I don't have to go digging through something else to find it. Each of these files can be tagged. So if I go, let's say I'm going to say this is the final production file. So and you can write a note on it. So, hey, use Joe, use printer number 1, we'll say. So we'll save that. And now this has been updated. And let's go to the next one. And we're going to say that this one is the logo file for the customer. And we're just going to do that. I just want to show you how this works. So if I'm a person that comes to work in the morning, I go to the task list, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. I can just, maybe on the list it says print banner, route letters, whatever it is. I can click right from the task list, come to the job, click final production. I can have 50 files in here. It's going to sort everything out and just give me the final production file. And then I can download it. I can see that there's a note on it, and then I can get to work. Contracts and worksheets, we're going to talk about that. That is problem number 3. But again, we're doing everything inside of the job. So it's all contained. I just want to show you this really fast before we get to the tasks and the contracts. But, there are dozens and dozens of forms. These are all the forms that we used to manage our shop. So everything from survey sheets to, forms to hire subcontractors, communicate with landlords, work orders. I mean, there's just tons of them in here. I would just recommend open them up. If you want to fill them out on your browser, you have to download the little web. It's a little, it's an extension for Acrobat. So if you're in Chrome or whatever browser you have, just add it, and your browser might automatically have it anyway. But if you just open the form up, you can fill it out, save it, and then what it does, it drives it up here to the completed forms. But you're just keeping all this information in one place. This is a nice little bonus for all of you. We worked with a technical designer to come up with all of these. So everything, and some of them are super simple, right? So if you just have banners, but even still, there's a lot of different banner templates in here. They're all vectorized. Text is all live text. You can download these, edit them any way you want. Super, super helpful. And then we did, of course, some more complicated ones. So if you do electric signs, this helps a lot with permitting. If you're thinking of dabbling in electric signs, maybe working with the wholesaler on that, even still for making a presentation to a customer, to permitting, to landlord approval, these drawings make you look like a pro. So these are all, again, they're all vectorized. You can download them all. It's a nice little bonus from us to you. And then you can just edit them any way you want. And there's just a ton of them. So I just recommend going through all of those. Okay, so now we're going to talk about problem number 3, which is quoting and worksheets, and then we'll end with keeping the team in the know. So again, we're talking about the customer that called in and they want a quote on a banner, right? So you captured a little bit of information, bam, it's not going to fall through the cracks. It's landed on the job flow board. They send you their logo, you attach it here, so you're not going to lose any of the components to the project. And now we're going to give a quick little quote. So we can go here, new contract. And this is a worksheet. And what you're going to do is you're going to add line items to the worksheet. And all the line items are product templates that you create on the back end. So let's say this is a 4x8 banner. It's already created. So I can come in here, and how these are organized is you have these item categories with a markup that you decide. So you can have a separate markup for materials. You can have a separate markup for labor. You can edit these. You can, delete line items, anything you need to do inside the job. It won't hurt the template that you create on the back end. If you have salespeople, you can have commissions that are preset. If you need to offer a discount on this project, hopefully never, but if you do, you can do it by percentage or dollar amount. And all it does is it goes up here and it subtracts it evenly by each of the item categories. And SignTracker, by the way, allows you to quote whether it's material, labor, or you can also set up formula items too. So that's a whole separate item category that you can have. If you have things like permits, surveys, art setup fees, those will all break down on the bottom of the contract. If you are syncing with QuickBooks, of course, all your taxes will come over from QuickBooks, and you can either preset taxes up per template or add it per job. Just depends on how you want to do it. You'll have a nice description of what this product is. You save it. It adds a line item to the worksheet. And you can have as many as you want. So if you do bigger, apartment complex type projects where you have a monument sign, a channel letter set, some ADA signs, wall graphics, whatever, it's fine. You can have it all in one contract within the job, or if you need to have multiple contracts, maybe a certain percentage of that job is coming out of a different budget, but yet it's still the same job, same location, same deadlines. You can create 2 different contracts. It depends on how your customer wants to see it, but it's very flexible. But you can either add a line item by just going in here and adding more products. You can do this just pulls up a copy of a blank template. So if you wanted to do something on the fly or something super custom and you needed just to start from scratch, you can use that one. And this is really cool. You can clone them. So let's say this was a 4x8 monument, but they needed a 3x6. Or it was a box truck and the second one was the same graphics, same design, but it was a little bit of a different size. Instead of starting from scratch, you just clone it. Click that. Opens it up, you make any changes you want. I'm not going to make any changes because my typing's really slow, but let's say you did, and you can save it, and it's just going to add another line item to the worksheet. And lastly, let's say you did a monument sign or something, anything custom on a job a couple months ago. And you say, man, this one's just like that. I know that was a complicated quote. And so rather than starting from scratch, just find it. And this is pretty. You can either type in job number, customer name rather, or whatever, anything you need. There's multiple ways, product type. It'll just kind of pull it up from other jobs, but then you can go ahead and just clone it. It opens it up. You make any changes you want to it, add the taxes, all that stuff, and then add it to this job. So I'm not going to do that for now, but that's how that works. So it's really just super helpful way to do the quoting. Notes, so you can write notes on this contract like, hey, we're going to need access to the inside of the space, or just a simple thank you, whatever. Your terms, that's going to be on the back end, so this will be your default terms, but you can change it per job. Same with your deposit amount. You can name this anything you want. We used to call ours quotation and purchase contract, but in the setup, if you just want to call it sign bid, an invoice, call it whatever you want. We'll save it. And now what it does, it creates a contract. Now this contract is ready to send to the client for approval. And so you can either download it as a PDF and attach it to an email, or you can just click this customer link here and open up your email, type a nice little email and say, hey, Joe, here is your quote. And I could say, this looks good, Joe. I'm talking to myself here. And we'll go ahead and send that over. And now if I go back to my job, I'm going to force this. It happens more automatic when you do it through email. But now the project manager and the sales rep both get an email saying that, Joe, your contract's been approved by Joe and he's ready to go. And from here, you can even assign it a due date, and you can even move it into, let's say we're going to move it into pre-production because maybe there's still some materials that need to be ordered or permit issues or whatever. But you can manage all that from within the job. And I think lastly, I just want to point out that it's a great way to start building tasks for this job here. So if you're the person that's setting the job up, and you can watch the video on how to do this, it's templates. So you don't have to, type a list of everything every time. So I can choose this template. You can even pre-assign these and save a template with all the staff pre-assigned if you want to. But let's say I'm going to assign this to, the project manager. And if the due date is, the 25th, that means to get this done on time, I need to have this done by this date. So you can start to do a little resource management. You can also write a note on this too. See Joe before you get started, or use printer number 1, or make sure that you have access to the inside of the space, whatever, any note you want on this particular project. on this particular task. And then, then you just go through and assign them all to folks. So when, let's say I come to work in the morning, and I want to see what I have to do, right? So I come in here and I go to the task list. I'm signed in, and I'm signed in as myself. I can see everything that I have to do today, this week, or next week. And, from here, I can just say, hey, this is in progress, or this is done. I can adjust the due date. If, let's say it was an initial meeting with the customer and they, blew you off for a couple more weeks. You can change anything here too. But what's great is if I'm going to be running a router or a printer or whatever, I can just go straight here. It'll take me to the job. I go and it takes me right back into whatever job. And so again, I can just go to my attachments, I can find my production files or whatever you need to do. So, and then back to the overview. And this is an older job I just happened to click into, but you can see the activity tracker as well. So again, SignTracker is going to keep your jobs from falling through the cracks. It's going to give you a place to put everything. It's going to help you with accurate quoting to ensure profitability and consistency. And it's going to help keep your team on track so everyone knows what they have to do. There is a lot more to SignTracker. This is a bird's eye view of the system. But again, if you can click over to the dashboard, join me for one of my weekly webinars. We do a much deeper dive into all this stuff, and it's open Q&A. So I'd love to have you join. And again, bring your employees along, and I'm here to help. And as a reminder, hit the support tab. That's a direct connect to your tech support and your Intavo customer success rep. Anyway, thanks a bunch. Talk to you soon. All right. Well, that's a wrap. I hope this was helpful. And again, if SignTracker can help you keep your jobs falling through the cracks, keep all the assets to your projects in one place, quote accurately and profitably, and keep everyone informed of what they have to do, then I think it's the tool for you. So again, I invite you to hit the try it free button. Give it a whirl. You can always join me if you go to the dashboard on our weekly webinars. I teach them live twice a week. And also you have an amazing support team at Intavo. So you have not only a tech support person, but a dedicated success person too. So hit that support button and ask for help. And we're here to help you grow your business and be successful together. Thanks again for spending a few minutes with me. Have a great afternoon.